as the Olympics roll along. I hadn't expected to watch them, but what the hell. Unlike some of the previous Olympics, they're at least on while I'm awake. It's on during the afternoon, so what the hell. I'll watch Canada versus US for men's volleyball. Watched beach volleyball last night. There's a general rule that seems to be playing itself out with this year's Olympics as well. If there's an attractive woman on a team or playing a sport, she'll lose. That's like, wow, she's really cute and she's done. That's it. Her Olympic dream is over. I'm sorry, it's my fault. Another quick point I want to mention. This channel's past 700 subscribers. Thank you for the people who've clicked subscribe. There are, I honestly think, some good things coming down the road for this channel, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. For those who've been here since the beginning, I do pay attention to your video suggestions. That's why we're doing this World Cup series now, because a lot of the veterans of the channel have been like, World Cup, World Cup. It's like, all right, fine, I'll do World Cup. There's only so many videos I can do where I look back at the past before I start saying, man, you're starting to sound really old here. Let's talk about something fresh and modern. The other interesting part, too, is that I've passed 700 subscribers, which is approximately 700 people who don't know me in real life. And yet there are times where, for people I know and I'm friends with in real life, I'll make a video specifically for them. It's unlisted, it's not on my channel. And I'll send them the link and they never watch it. So, if you know me, you don't give a shit. Yeah, maybe that's nice. And it's not like they're an hour or they're just, it's just something I wanted to say to a person. And, sometimes during the life being as life is, you may not have a chance to tell people things. And so I say it, and the video sits there without a view on it. So, it happens. See, and I can say that because none of those people would be watching this video. So, right now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at Sweden. And I got to admit, I'm a little biased. As a Vancouver Canucks fan, I've watched a lot of Swedish players come through. Now, Jim Benning in Vancouver is very much in favor of bringing in Canadians and Americans, and I'm okay with that. When you look at the Stanley Cup finalists the Canucks have had, 82, 94, 2011, all three of them have had Swedes in prominent areas in common. And you can make the argument whether that cost them the Stanley Cup or not, or if there were other issues. I would say there's other issues, but there are people who would say, oh, it's the Swedes. Fine. If you want to think Thomas Gradin was the problem with the 82 Canucks and that 94, there was just too much Sweden, and 2011, it was the Sedins, then there's nothing I can say to change your mind. People who are anti-Swedish players are going to stay that way. The problem is when these kind of tournaments come up, Sweden wins a lot. Whether it's Olympics, World Championships, World Junior Championships, Sweden is very competitive and wins quite a bit. So if Swedish players cost you in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Nick Lidstrom is this curious player who, as a team captain, led Detroit to the Stanley Cup. And of course, people say, he had a great team behind him. Yeah, doesn't matter. There are a lot of great teams over the years that have failed to win a Stanley Cup. One of the silliest arguments I've seen online is our team elite? I used to see this with the Canucks quite a bit, and I've seen this with other teams. I've seen this with Bruins fans too. Is our team elite anymore? What do they mean? The Kings make the playoffs as a number 8 seed. They win the Stanley Cup. So now they're elite. They weren't elite during the regular season, and I do it with quotes because I don't know what the fuck that even means. On any given night, any team can beat any other. That's what parity is. So one night you might be a giant killer and beat San Jose, and a couple nights later you go in and Columbus clobbers you. That's the way the league works. That being said, let's take a look at Sweden. And I'm rocking my Kings today. This is, honestly, love wearing this Kings jersey. I try not to wear it too much because I don't want to damage it. It is a beautiful, beautiful item. And you can tell this is the 1967 throwback because of the striping. The one they use now for an alternate jersey has extra stripes on it, and I don't like it as much. I like this better. This is a better jersey. Clean. I like, the older I get, the more I like the clean, traditional style jerseys. And yet I'm a Canucks fan and I love all their jerseys. So those two things don't really add up, do they? All right. Sweden in net has Robin Lehner, Henrik Lundqvist, and Jakob Markstrom. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb. Markstrom outplays Lehner. Markstrom gets the backup spot. I'm not a huge fan of Markstrom as a starter, but I am as a backup. Lehner is inconsistent, and I could see Markstrom stealing the spot from him. Now, Lundqvist is the unequivocal, he's a starter, nobody's touching that. On the blue line, you have Matthias Ekholm, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Victor Hedman, Nicholas Hjalmarsson, Erik Karlsson, Nicholas Kronwall, and Anton Strawman. That's dirty. That is dirty. That is an absolutely insane blue line. They're all good with the puck. I tell you, that is dangerous, and that power play is going to slaughter you from the blue line. I haven't even got to the forwards yet. We've got Lundqvist in net, and their defense is 10-10-10. It is absolutely crazy how good that defense is. Up front, Nicholas Backstrom, Louis Eriksson, Philip Forsberg, Carl Hagelin, Patrick Hornqvist, Marcus Kruger, Gabriel Landeskog, Daniel Sedin, Henrik Sedin, Jakob Silverberg, Carl Soderberg, Alexander Steen, and Henrik Zetterberg. Wow. I got to be honest. That is one heck of a lineup. I am very impressed with that lineup. Is Kruger the weak player? No, because Kruger's a very good defensive forward. But he probably sits out. Either him or Soderberg would be the one to sit out. Man, that is crazy. That is such a good lineup. I'm calling it. The Sedins play with Eriksson in this tournament. And we're going to see whether or not they have... See, the Canucks fan in me is like, you want this team to win the tournament. It's too bad Edler didn't make the defense, but that defense is nasty. Who would you put Edler in there instead of Ekholm? No. Strawman? Hell no. So Edler doesn't make that lineup for... But yeah, there's 3 Canucks there. That is an awesome lineup. I really like Sweden's lineup, and I think of the teams in the tournament that aren't the U.S. and Canada, Sweden is the best team. I don't see a weakness. And the synergy these players are going to have together. It's going to be intense. It's going to be very intense. And part of the thing for me is when people say, well, the Sedins, aren't winners, I go, gold medal in Olympic Games? They were a big part of the gold medalists. And people go, and they just ignore it. And hopefully this tournament shows that they can still play at the top of their game when they want to. I think part of what's happened with the Sedins is, I think with the team falling apart in Vancouver, I think it's harder. It's going to be harder for them to come to the rink now than it's ever been. And that's including the first 3 years in the NHL when it just had to be brutal because it took them a long time to adjust to the game. Defensively, they were fine, but fans here wanted production. So it was tough for them. But man, Forsberg. Hey, Forsberg can play with Backstrom. That way Washington fans can see what could have been and isn't. I'm sorry. That's really, really cruel. That's nasty, but funny. I guess Soderberg could play with Eriksson, and that way Bruins fans could go, damn it, we don't have either of these guys. Look how good they are. And they might be all right together. Eriksson's a scorer, and Soderberg's a passing center, so it could work if the Sedins don't work with Eriksson. Oh, God. If the Sedins don't work with Eriksson, then local radio sports is going to go absolutely crazy, and they'll just eat the Sedins alive before training camps even started, for the Sedins anyways. But yeah, that is one fantastic team. I'm gonna say right now, anybody who's not scared of them is crazy, because the Sedins and that team around them, and I say them because, I've got an affection for them that goes back 15 plus years. I've really enjoyed watching them develop and play their entire careers, and I think it's a blessing that they're going to finish their careers in Vancouver. I think the idea of just trade them for what and where, and it's a $14 million cap situation, and why? You can't just throw everything away just because. And throwing away the faces of your franchise, this tremendous duo who are probably the best set of twins that have ever played hockey, certainly putting up, by the time they retire, they'll have put up a combined 2,000 points together. They're first ballot Hall of Famers. So, if they perform really well at this tournament and they win that ugly trophy, who knows? Maybe that solidifies them even further in the eyes of the rest of the hockey universe. I'm sure there'll be excuses, and I'm sure I'll hear Sedin sisters 15 million times, regardless of what happens in the tournament. But it's baffling to me when I hear that. So, but I've talked about that before, and I always take umbrage with the whole Sedin sisters thing. Anyways, so that's my take on Sweden. I will do my take on the American team. That will be uploaded soon. I feel that should be a separate video from Sweden. Sweden deserves their own video because, as a Canuck fan, I have tremendous affection for Swedish players. Um, of all the international jerseys, and they're all on sale on the Lids website right now, I will likely get a Three Crown yellow with the blue Sweden jersey. I think of all of the national teams, and I have Team Canada jerseys, I just don't wear them. I think Sweden I would wear more than Canada, just because of the amount of players that I've enjoyed watching over the years play for the Vancouver Canucks who are Swedish. Like I said, Benning is changing that culture. He's drafting the North American players. He's bringing in North American players, and we'll see whether or not that changes the end result, or whether or not he stays around long enough to see the end result. I would think if the Canucks are as much of a tire fire this year as I think they're going to be, this could be Benning's last year. Because if this team falls, he could be done, because the Aquilinis won't have the patience. That's just how they are. But this is Sweden, and I wish them the best in the tournament, and I'll likely be cheering for them. I won't be cheering for them against Canada because it's Canada, it's my country, but anybody else, I will be cheering for the Swedes. So hopefully it's a silver medal for them. That'd be kind of fantastic.